Ethan had never expected his playful words to matter beyond the small circle of his friends. That evening, the floating city of Lunaris shimmered under a violet sky. Its towers and walkways bathed in the glow of distant stars. Humans and supernatural beings mingled freely here, a rare place where different species coexisted peacefully. Ethan, a clever but ordinary human, walked among the bustling crowd, laughing with his friends at a festival filled with lights, music, and aromas from alien cuisines. He was enjoying the moment, feeling the unusual freedom of a city where humans were finally accepted, yet still underestimated by many. As they stopped at a stall offering glowing fruit from a faraway planet, one of his friends nudged him teasingly. "Ethan, when are you going to get a wife? Or are you going to stay single forever?" They all laughed, expecting him to make another one of his witty jokes. But Ethan, half drunk with laughter and the strange energy of the festival, grinned and said, "You know, I could really use a wife. Someone strong, dangerous even, maybe a vampire warbride. That would be interesting, don't you think?" The words were said in jest, and Ethan thought nothing more of it. The friends laughed harder, imagining the impossible scenario. But what Ethan didn't realize was that his words had traveled far beyond the festival. Lunaris was built on layers of ancient technology that could, unintentionally, transmit the thoughts and words of people with strong emotions across vast distances. That night, somewhere across the galaxy, those words reached ears that were centuries old, sharp and curious. Celine, a vampire warbride known for her fearsome presence and legendary conquests, had been monitoring these networks as part of her duties. When she heard Ethan's words, a spark of amusement lit in her eyes. It was rare to hear a human speak so boldly, so playfully, about something that could cost them their life. Most humans would never dare joke about bonding with a warbride, much less in such an honest, careless way. Yet here was one, a mere human, daring to speak aloud the very idea. Celine smiled. Her curiosity piqued, and she decided she would visit this audacious human herself. Back on Lunaris, Ethan and his friends moved through the festival, oblivious to the attention that was now following them. Lanterns floated above the streets and music echoed from several stages. Ethan pointed at a street performer demonstrating acrobatic tricks with glowing ropes. "See that? Humans can do amazing things too, but I wonder, could I ever impress someone like a warbride?" His friends rolled their eyes, assuming he was continuing the joke. Then, without warning, the air in the square shifted. A sudden chill brushed against Ethan's skin, making the hair on his arm stand on end. People stopped, sensing the change, and whispered nervously. From the shadow of the tallest tower, a figure appeared, walking toward them with a grace that seemed to part the crowd. Ethan's friends froze, their laughter disappearing as they followed his gaze. Celine was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. She was tall, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer faintly under the violet sky. Her hair flowed like liquid night, and her eyes glowed faintly with a color no human had a name for. She moved with the confidence of someone who knew the universe was hers to command. The crowd parted, instinctively aware that this being was powerful, and even the most fearless of festival-goers took careful steps backward. Ethan felt his heart race, unsure if it was fear or fascination or both. When Celine stopped in front of him, she tilted her head slightly, studying him with a mixture of amusement and scrutiny. "I heard you," she said, her voice smooth yet commanding, resonating in his mind as much as in his ears. "The words you spoke about wanting a wife, you were not serious, were you?" Ethan swallowed hard, trying to find words that would make sense. I was joking. I didn't think, yet your words reached me," Celine interrupted gently, but her gaze was unyielding. Few humans dare speak so freely, and fewer still admit such desires without fear. "I accept." For a moment, Ethan thought he had misunderstood. "Accept what?" His voice barely rose above a whisper, though the crowd had grown completely silent. Celine extended her hand, her eyes never leaving his. "I accept to be your wife, to bond as a warbride with you. Your words called me here. Do you accept the consequences of speaking them?" Ethan's mind raced. This was impossible. A vampire warbride, legendary across galaxies, had just offered herself to him based on a playful joke. Fear and curiosity wrestled inside him, but something in Celine's calm, confident gaze made him realize she meant what she said. For reasons he could not explain, he nodded. I accept." Celine smiled faintly as though a great game had begun. Around them, the festival resumed, but Ethan felt as if the world had shifted. A human, in a city where humans were often overlooked, had just drawn the attention of a being older and stronger than anyone he had imagined. And somehow, against all odds, he had said, yes. This was only the beginning. Ethan could hardly believe what had just happened. The crowd slowly recovered from their shock, whispering among themselves, yet no one dared approach Selena. She stood before him like a living shadow, her presence commanding attention without effort. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, a mix of fear, awe, and a strange thrill he could not name. The words he had spoken in jest had brought a legendary being to his side, and now he had to navigate what came next. Celine's eyes scanned the crowd, and with a subtle gesture, the people around them instinctively stepped back. Ethan realized that this woman or this creature was not merely powerful. She radiated authority. Her every movement was precise, graceful, and purposeful. Yet beneath that commanding exterior, Ethan detected a flicker of curiosity, a spark that seemed almost human. "You are unlike any human I have encountered," Celine said, her voice melodic yet edged with steel. "Your words were playful, yet they carried honesty. That honesty drew me here. Tell me, Ethan, do you truly understand what you have called upon?" Ethan swallowed hard. He had never imagined that his joke could have real consequences. I don't fully understand," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "I thought it was just words. A silly joke." Celine tilted her head, regarding him with amusement. Few humans speak without fear. Most would hesitate even in private. You spoke freely, and that is rare. It is enough to warrant my attention. You may not understand now, but soon you will." A ripple of energy passed through the air, subtle but unmistakable. Ethan felt a strange pull, as if the city itself had shifted around them. He looked down and noticed faint symbols glowing on the ground near Celine's feet. The energy was not harmful, but it carried weight, a reminder that she was not an ordinary being. "I need to explain," Celine continued. "I am a Warbride. My purpose is to form bonds that strengthen alliances between my people and others. Humans are seldom chosen because you are fragile, untested, and short-lived. Yet something about your spirit, your playfulness mixed with courage, intrigues me. You may prove exceptional." Ethan's mind raced. He had grown up hearing stories of vampires, their wars, and their unmatched strength. He was clever, yes, but cleverness alone had never prepared him for this. What happens now?" he asked, unsure if he wanted the answer. Celine's lips curved into a faint smile. "First you will learn. You will learn about the world beyond your city, about my people, about the responsibilities you have invoked. You will face trials, dangers, and choices that will test you beyond imagination. But if you succeed, you may rise to heights no human has before." Ethan swallowed again, the weight of her words settling in. The festival's laughter and music now seemed distant, as though the world had narrowed to just the two of them. I will try," he said. Even saying the words aloud felt like stepping off a cliff, but something inside him wanted to rise to the challenge. Celine extended her hand again. "Come, there is much to show you, and time is short." Hesitantly, Ethan placed his hand in hers. The moment their skin touched, he felt a surge of energy unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was not painful, but it filled him with a sense of clarity, awareness, and unspoken power. He realized that Celine's bond was already beginning, a connection that went beyond words. Together, they moved through the city, Celine gliding effortlessly while Ethan struggled to keep pace. The crowd stared in awe and fear, whispering about the human who had summoned a Warbride. Children peeked from behind lantern posts and merchants paused mid-sail, all sensing the extraordinary event unfolding. Celine led Ethan to a secluded courtyard overlooking the glowing spires of Lunaris. Here she began explaining more about her people. "We are not like humans," she said softly. "We live for centuries, we have fought wars across stars, and our strength is feared. Yet even with all our power, we see qualities humans possess: adaptability, creativity, and courage. That is why your kind fascinates me." Ethan listened, captivated. He had never imagined humans could be seen as extraordinary by beings of such power. The idea stirred something deep inside him, a mix of pride and determination. He realized that his words, his playful joke, had inadvertently offered him an opportunity to prove humanity's worth in a universe that often overlooked them. Celine's gaze softened as she studied him. "You have potential, Ethan. You must learn to harness it, or the trials ahead may overwhelm you. I will guide you, but the path is yours to walk. Fear is natural, but courage, true courage, comes from choice, not strength. Ethan nodded, feeling both the weight and the promise of her words. For the first time, he saw a future that stretched far beyond Lunaris, beyond his ordinary life. A future where humans could stand tall among the stars, not as weak or fragile creatures, but as beings of ingenuity and courage. That night, under the violet sky of the floating city, Ethan and Celine began a partnership that would change both their lives. A human and a warbride, united not by duty alone but by a spark of curiosity, courage, and the possibilities that lay ahead. And while the festival continued around them for Ethan, the world had become something far larger and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Ethan woke the next morning with a mixture of excitement and dread. The city of Lunaris shimmered under a pale morning glow, its spires reflecting the light and colors he had never seen before. Celine stood at the edge of the courtyard, her hair flowing like black silk in the gentle breeze. She had promised him guidance, and today he would begin to understand what that meant. "Today you start learning," Celine said, her voice calm but firm. "The life you thought you knew is over. You must understand strength, strategy, and the ways of my people. But do not worry, I will teach you. Your mind is as important as your body." Ethan swallowed hard. He had always considered himself clever, but he was acutely aware of the chasm between a human and a vampire warbride. He nodded, trying to steady his nerves. I am ready," he said, though even he doubted the truth of it. Celine led him to a training ground hidden within the city's highest towers. The floor was made of a smooth, dark material that seemed to hum faintly underfoot. Shadows moved with her, bending as if alive. "First you learn awareness," she said. "Strength alone will not protect you. You must sense danger, understand your surroundings, and react before your enemy strikes." Ethan followed her instructions carefully. Though at first it felt unnatural, she moved swiftly around him, her movements almost invisible, testing his perception. He missed nearly every cue at first, his human reflexes too slow, his mind too used to ordinary dangers. Celine's expression remained calm, but he could sense her scrutiny. "You think in patterns?" she observed. "Humans do. That is both a weakness and a strength. You can predict, but predictability can be exploited. You must learn to break your own patterns to surprise even yourself." Ethan frowned, trying to comprehend. He realized that she was not merely training him physically, but teaching him a new way to think. He spent hours moving, reacting, and learning to notice the subtle shifts in the air, the quietest sounds, the faintest glimpses of shadow. Gradually, he began to catch on, sensing her presence before she moved, anticipating small attacks she made. When they paused, Ethan felt exhausted but alive in a way he had never known. "Good," Celine said softly. "You have potential. Your human limitations do not define you. They challenge you, but your mind, your creativity, gives you an edge many of my people lack." Ethan felt a spark of pride, but it was fleeting. The next lesson was far more difficult. Celine led him to a series of simulated battles, illusions of creatures far stronger than humans, designed to test his courage and decision-making. The creatures appeared around him, eyes glowing, teeth bared, and Ethan realized fear alone could paralyze him or motivate him. "Do not fight blindly," Celine warned. "Use your mind. Humans have survived by thinking, adapting, and innovating. You must do the same. Strength is not always enough." The first few attempts were disastrous. Ethan stumbled, tripped, and nearly fell under the illusion's strikes. He was scared, frustrated, and tempted to give up. But Celine's calm presence reminded him that failure was not defeat. She corrected his stance, whispered strategies, and forced him to think 2 steps ahead. By the end of the day, Ethan had begun to understand. He was not strong in the way vampires were, nor fast in the way Celine moved, but his mind could outthink, outmaneuver, and adapt. He realized that humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their greatest weapon was often unseen: ingenuity. As the sun dipped below the floating towers, casting a warm glow across the city, Celine regarded him with a faint smile. "You are learning quickly," she said. "But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of dangers far beyond illusions and training grounds. You must prepare for what comes, and for that you must continue to grow stronger in body and in mind." Ethan nodded, his exhaustion replaced with determination. I want to be ready, he said. He no longer thought of himself as a mere human. With Celine's guidance, he felt the spark of something greater, a chance to show that humans could match beings far stronger and older than themselves. Celine placed her hand briefly on his shoulder. Remember this, Ethan, you are not powerless. You are clever, adaptable, and bold. Those qualities may save you where strength cannot. You will need them soon, for the trials ahead will not wait. That night, Ethan lay in his small chamber, replaying the day over and over in his mind. His muscles ached, his body was sore, but his mind raced with new strategies, new ways to think, and new ways to act. For the first time, he truly understood that being human was not a limitation. It was a different kind of power. As he drifted into sleep, he felt Celine's presence nearby, a silent guardian and mentor. Tomorrow, he would face even greater challenges, and he was ready to meet them. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, but under her guidance, he would prove that courage, cleverness, and determination could rival even the most ancient of powers. And for Ethan, that realization was just the beginning of the adventure that awaited him, a journey that would test him, teach him, and change the way the galaxy saw humans forever. The following morning, Ethan awoke to the soft glow of Lunaris's twin suns rising over the horizon. The city, with its shimmering towers and floating walkways, seemed calm and peaceful, but Celine's presence reminded him that danger was never far away. Today, she told him, they would face real threats, tests that were no longer illusions or controlled simulations. Ethan felt a thrill of fear and excitement swirl inside him. Celine led him through narrow streets toward a secluded district on the edge of the city. There are factions that resent the alliance forming between humans and vampires, she explained. Some rogue clans see humans as weak and unworthy of respect. They may attempt to disrupt our bond. Today, you will see what true danger looks like. As they entered the district, shadows shifted unnaturally, and Ethan noticed faint figures lurking in alleys and atop rooftops. Celine's eyes glowed slightly, and she moved with fluid grace, her senses attuned to every movement. Do not panic, she said softly. Observe, think, react. Your mind is your weapon. The first attack came quickly. A group of rogue vampires dropped from the rooftops, their claws gleaming under the morning sun. Ethan's instinct was to run, but Celine grabbed his arm and held him steady. Use what you learned, she commanded. Predict their moves. Use strategy, not just strength. Ethan focused, recalling the exercises from their training. He noticed that the attackers followed predictable patterns, moving as a unit and relying on intimidation. Using quick thinking, he directed Celine to lead them past choke points in the alleyways where their numbers counted for less. The rogues were strong, but Ethan's tactics gave them an edge. Celine moved with lightning speed, striking only when necessary, while Ethan used his surroundings, hanging cables, crates, and uneven surfaces, to slow down their opponents. By the end of the skirmish, the rogue vampires retreated, not defeated by brute force, but outsmarted by the combined efforts of a human and a Warbride working as a team. Ethan's heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. He had survived, not because he was stronger than the attackers, but because he had thought differently. Celine studied him with a faint smile. You see, Ethan, humans are underestimated because others cannot imagine thinking as you do. Strength is obvious, but strategy, courage, and creativity are invisible weapons. You have used them well today. Ethan felt a surge of pride. He had always known humans were clever, but seeing it work against beings far stronger than himself made him realize that ingenuity could rival power. He looked at Celine, gratitude and respect shining in his eyes. I think I understand now, he said. Being human isn't weakness. It's a different kind of strength. Celine nodded. Exactly. And you will need to keep learning. The galaxy is full of challenges, and those who rely solely on power are often the first to fall. Humans endure because they adapt, think, and act when others hesitate. The day continued with small skirmishes and tests. Ethan began to move with more confidence, anticipating danger before it arrived. He learned to read Celine's subtle cues, to trust his instincts, and to see opportunities in situations that seemed hopeless. By evening, his exhaustion was matched by exhilaration. During a quiet moment on a rooftop overlooking the city, Celine spoke softly. You surprised me today, she admitted. Not in your physical ability, you are still human, but in your mind. You adapt, you think, and you act in ways my people rarely consider. That is what makes humans extraordinary. Ethan looked at her, feeling a connection deepen between them. It was not only fear or respect, but a growing sense of partnership. He realized that Celine had chosen him not just because of a playful joke, but because she saw potential, human potential that could match and even complement her own power. I never thought I could make a difference like this, Ethan confessed. I always felt ordinary. But today, I feel like maybe humans really can matter, even among beings far stronger than us. Celine's eyes softened, a rare expression for one who had seen centuries of war. You are learning what few humans ever realize. You are more than your limits. Your courage, creativity, and determination can shape outcomes where power alone cannot. That is why I chose to answer your words. That is why I am here. As the twin suns set, casting long shadows over Lunaris, Ethan felt a profound change within himself. The city around him was the same, but he was not. He had faced real danger, relied on his mind, and survived alongside a being stronger, older, and more powerful than anything he had imagined. For the first time, Ethan understood that humans could stand tall in a universe that often underestimated them. He had proven that courage, cleverness, and quick thinking could turn the tide against forces far greater than himself. And beside him, Celine's presence reminded him that this was only the beginning. Together, human and Warbride, they could challenge anything that the galaxy might send their way. As night fell and the city lights glimmered, Ethan knew one thing with certainty. He would never see himself or humanity the same way again. The trials ahead would be even harder, but he had already taken the first steps toward proving that humans were capable of greatness. Even in the face of unimaginable power, Ethan awoke to a strange tension in the air. The floating city of Lunaris looked peaceful under the pale light of the morning, but Celine's demeanor was serious, sharp, and alert. She had received news from her scouts. A hostile coalition of alien species numbering in the thousands was moving toward human and vampire territories. Their goal was simple: to conquer and destroy. The calm Ethan had felt in recent days vanished instantly. Celine's eyes glimmered with determination as she explained the situation. This is no longer a test, Ethan. The coalition is powerful, organized, and ruthless. If we do not act quickly, countless lives will be at risk. You will need to help, not just with strength, but with strategy. Your human ingenuity will be crucial. Ethan's heart raced. He had trained with Celine, learned to anticipate threats, and faced rogue vampires before, but this was different. Thousands of enemies, each more powerful than humans, were on the move. He felt fear, yes, but also a strange clarity. This was the moment he had been unknowingly preparing for. Celine led him to the command tower overlooking the city. Holographic displays showed the enemy fleet moving through space, their ships sleek and menacing. Celine's council of vampire commanders worked quickly to plan defensive maneuvers, but even they were wary of the alien coalition's strength. Ethan studied the projections, noting patterns, formations, and possible weaknesses. His mind raced, connecting strategies he had learned from games, human history, and Celine's training. I see something, he said, pointing at a cluster of enemy ships. They rely on overwhelming force in a straight path. If we can lure them into the narrow asteroid belt near the outer colonies, we can limit their numbers and attack them in smaller groups. Celine studied him carefully, impressed by the clarity and practicality of his idea. It is unconventional, she admitted, but that is what humans excel at, thinking differently. We will follow your plan. The following hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Ethan coordinated with both human engineers and vampire strategists, adapting ancient technology and modern human tactics to set traps and ambushes. His ideas included decoy fleets, automated mines, and using the gravitational pull of nearby planets to create chaos in the enemy's formation. Each decision was risky, but Ethan's mind worked fast, and his strategies began to take shape. When the alien coalition arrived, the battle began with a deafening roar of engines and weapons fire. Ethan stayed at the command tower, directing units with precision, predicting the enemy's moves and adjusting defenses in real time. Celine fought on the front lines, her speed and strength unmatched, but she relied on Ethan's strategies to give her the advantage. The enemy underestimated the humans' role in the battle. They were strong and fast, but rigid in their tactics. Ethan exploited every weakness, directing strikes at critical points and forcing them into traps. The asteroid belt became a maze of chaos, exactly as he had predicted. Ships collided, energy fields malfunctioned, and the coalition's formations broke apart under unexpected pressure. Selene's commanders began to cheer quietly. For all their power, it was Ethan's mind that turned the tide. He moved swiftly between consoles, giving orders and adjusting plans, a human at the center of a battle that could have seemed hopeless. His energy, courage, and clever thinking inspired not only the human forces but even the vampire warriors. Hours later, as the dust and smoke cleared, the coalition retreated. Many ships were destroyed and the surviving forces fled in confusion and fear. The city of Lunaris and the surrounding colonies were safe, for now. Ethan's heart pounded from adrenaline, exhaustion, and the rush of victory. He had faced a threat far beyond ordinary human capability and had survived, not through raw power, but through thought, strategy, and courage. Selene approached him, her eyes bright with approval. "You have done more than impress me," she said softly. "You have proven that humans are not weak, not fragile, not insignificant. Your mind, your creativity, and your courage turned the impossible into victory. Today you showed what humanity can achieve when it dares to stand tall." Ethan felt a deep pride but also humility. He knew that the battle was just one of many challenges they would face. Yet, for the first time, he understood that humans had a place among the stars. Not as weak observers, but as contributors, innovators, and warriors of thought. The city celebrated quietly that evening. While many honored Selene and the vampire forces, the humans who had fought under Ethan's strategies whispered among themselves, marveling at what a human mind could accomplish. Ethan watched from the top of the command tower, Selene at his side, the glow of the setting suns painting the city in gold and violet. He realized then that this was more than survival. This was the beginning of a legacy, proof that humans, often overlooked and underestimated, could rise to meet threats far beyond their strength, and in doing so, inspire others across the galaxy. Ethan felt Selene's hand on his shoulder, a reminder that they faced the future together. And as the stars began to twinkle overhead, he knew that humanity had begun its journey toward recognition, courage, and greatness, and he was at the forefront, a human mind standing tall among ancient powers. The calm after the battle was only temporary. Selene and Ethan had returned to Lunaris, but whispers followed them wherever they went. Selene's council, composed of centuries-old vampires, had learned of her decision to bond with a human. While some respected her judgment, others questioned it sharply. They could not understand how a fragile, short-lived human could possibly contribute to the survival and power of their kind. Selene led Ethan to the council chamber, a vast hall carved from black stone that seemed to drink in the light. Tall, imposing vampires filled the room, their eyes glowing faintly as they regarded the human who had earned Selene's trust. Ethan felt a wave of intimidation but refused to show fear. He had faced armies today, and now he faced scrutiny that could determine the future of humans in this galaxy. "This human," one counselor began, his voice cold and sharp, "cannot survive in our world. He is mortal, weak, and inexperienced. Your choice, Selene, is unwise. He may bring disgrace or disaster to our people." Ethan swallowed hard but kept his posture steady. Selene turned to him, her eyes meeting his with a quiet confidence. "Speak," she commanded. "Show them what they do not see." Ethan took a deep breath. "I may be human," he said, his voice firm. "But humans are not weak. We survive because we adapt, because we think, because we act when others hesitate. Today, I helped turn back an enemy fleet far larger and stronger than us. Not through power, but through strategy, planning, and courage. That is what humans can offer." A murmur ran through the council, but Ethan did not falter. "You rely on strength, skill, and centuries of experience. Those are important," he continued. "But power alone can be predictable. Humans find solutions that others overlook. We notice patterns, exploit weaknesses, and inspire those around us. You may doubt me because of my size, my lifespan, or my species, but underestimating humans has been a mistake before, and it will be a mistake again if you do not see our value." The chamber fell silent. Even the most skeptical counselors could not ignore the confidence, logic, and calm bravery in his words. Selene's eyes shone with pride. "He is right," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "Humans are clever, resourceful, and courageous. This human has proven it not once, but repeatedly. We would be wise to recognize what he brings, not dismiss it. One elder counselor leaned forward, his expression a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. Perhaps, he said slowly, we have been blinded by tradition. This human did aid in the battle, yes, but could he endure future threats? Could he withstand our enemies and guide humans to stand with us? Ethan met his gaze steadily. I do not know what the future holds, but I do know this. Humans do not give up. We may falter, we may be pushed to our limits, but we find ways to survive, to adapt, and to win. I cannot promise immortality or unmatched strength, but I can promise strategy, courage, and ingenuity. That has been enough today, and it will be enough tomorrow if you let it. The council was quiet for a long moment, absorbing the words. They had spent centuries judging others by power, not mind, by appearances, not action. Ethan's words challenged that view. Slowly, the elder counselor nodded. Very well. We will allow this bond to continue for now, but the human must prove his worth in actions, not words alone. Selena's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. He will, she said. Humans can surprise even the oldest of our kind. Ethan felt a surge of relief and pride. He had faced not only external threats but also internal doubt, and he had stood firm. This was another victory, not against armies but against assumptions, skepticism, and prejudice. He realized that human ingenuity, courage, and persistence were powerful tools, and that his species' value was beginning to be recognized by beings far older and stronger than himself. Over the following days, Ethan continued to demonstrate his worth. He coordinated human and vampire scouts to reinforce colonies, devised clever supply routes that avoided enemy detection, and even trained smaller groups of humans to think strategically in battle simulations. Each success further impressed Selene and her council, proving that the human mind could match, and often outthink, forces that raw strength alone could not overcome. Selene observed him quietly during these days, noting how he grew more confident, more precise, and more daring. His ingenuity combined with human courage inspired those around him, both human and vampire alike. She realized that the bond she had formed with Ethan was no longer a mere arrangement. It had become a partnership, one that could change perceptions of humans across the galaxy. Ethan felt that change within himself as well. He no longer saw humans as weak or limited. He understood that adaptability, creativity, and courage, qualities often overlooked by others, were powerful weapons in their own right. And he knew that together, he and Selene could lead humans and vampires to face challenges that no one had imagined possible. At night, as the twin moons of Lunaris rose over the city, Ethan stood with Selene on a balcony overlooking the towers. I never thought I could make a difference, he admitted softly. You already have, Selene replied. You have shown that humans are not to be underestimated. And this is only the beginning. There are greater threats ahead, but you have proven that with courage and mind, humanity can rise to meet them. Ethan nodded, feeling both determination and hope. He had faced skepticism and survived. He had fought alongside a legendary Warbride and earned respect. And most importantly, he had discovered that being human was not a weakness. It was a power waiting to be recognized by the universe. The galaxy had never felt so alive, or so dangerous. Rumors of a new alien threat had spread quickly, but this time Ethan and Selene were ready. They had faced rogue vampires, hostile fleets, and skeptical councils, and they had survived. Humanity's ingenuity and courage, guided by Selene's centuries of experience, had proven their worth. Now the final test loomed, a coalition of alien species intent on destroying both human and vampire civilizations. Ethan stood at the command tower of Lunaris, surveying the holographic projections of approaching ships. His mind raced, calculating possibilities, predicting movements, and identifying weaknesses. Beside him, Selene's presence was a calm anchor, her eyes glowing with quiet confidence. Are you ready? She asked. Ethan nodded. I've learned from every mistake. Humans think differently, and today we'll show the galaxy what that means. Selene smiled faintly, and together they began coordinating their forces. Unlike previous battles, this was not just a fight of strength, it was a test of strategy, diplomacy, and timing. Humans and vampires worked side by side, combining speed, power, and intellect. Ethan's plans took advantage of every environmental feature. Asteroid belts, gravitational pulls, and decoy fleets designed to confuse the enemy. Every move he suggested carried a human twist, unpredictable, clever, and precise. The battle began with a roar of engines and a blaze of energy weapons. Ethan remained at the center of command, issuing instructions and adjusting tactics in real time. Celine fought on the front lines, her strength unmatched, but she relied on Ethan's strategies to turn the tide. The alien coalition, confident in their superior power, soon found themselves outmaneuvered. They had strength in numbers, but Ethan's cleverness and adaptability kept them off balance. During the fight, Ethan noticed a section of the fleet trying to flank the colonies. He devised a rapid counter-strategy, using small human-operated ships to lure them into a trap. As the aliens took the bait, Celine struck from above with precision, decimating their forces. Every move highlighted the partnership between human ingenuity and vampire power, proving that neither strength nor intellect alone could win the day. They had to combine. Hours passed, and slowly, the enemy forces began to falter. The coalition retreated in disarray, their ships damaged and their confidence shattered. Ethan's heart raced, exhilarated by the chaos he had orchestrated and the teamwork that had turned the impossible into victory. Lunaris and the surrounding colonies were safe. Humans and vampires had triumphed together. When the battle ended, the Council of Vampires gathered to witness the results. Ethan had not only survived, but had led forces with a mind sharper than many seasoned warriors. The skeptics who had doubted him now looked upon him with respect, their centuries of prejudice challenged by one human's courage, creativity, and determination. Celine approached him, her eyes bright with pride. "You have done more than prove yourself, Ethan," she said softly. "You have proven that humans are extraordinary. Strength is visible, but ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking, these are powers that even the oldest among us can admire. You have raised humanity's place in the galaxy." Ethan felt a deep satisfaction, but it was tempered with humility. He knew the victory belonged to everyone, the humans who followed his lead, the vampires who trusted him, and Celine who had guided him through it all. "We did it together," he said. "Humans and vampires side by side. That's how we won." Celine smiled, a rare, warm expression that few had ever seen. "And that is why I chose to answer your words that night, Ethan. You spoke boldly and you acted boldly. The galaxy needed to see humans not as weak, but as partners, as equals. Today, we have shown them that." As celebration swept through Lunaris, Ethan felt the city itself seem to embrace him. Children ran through the streets laughing, inspired by stories of courage. Humans and vampires mingled freely, their bond stronger than ever. He realized that his journey was more than personal. It was symbolic. Humanity had earned respect not by raw power, but by courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Celine took his hand, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Together we will explore new worlds, face new challenges, and continue to prove what humans are capable of. You are no longer just a human, Ethan. You are a symbol of what our partnership can achieve." Ethan looked at the stars above, feeling the weight and wonder of everything he had experienced. He thought of the playful joke that had started it all, the bold words that had summoned a Warbride, and the journey that had transformed him from an ordinary human into someone capable of standing tall among legends. "I understand now," he said quietly. "Being human isn't a weakness. It's a different kind of strength, one that can change the galaxy." Celine squeezed his hand, and together they gazed at the horizon. Humanity had proven itself, vampires had seen their value, and the galaxy had witnessed a bond stronger than fear or power alone. The journey ahead was vast, but Ethan and Celine would face it as equals, partners, and a living proof that courage, ingenuity, and determination could reshape the universe. As Lunaris glimmered beneath the twin moons, Ethan smiled, knowing that the legacy of that night, the victory, the recognition, and the bond, would be remembered for generations. Humans had finally claimed their place among the stars, not through sheer strength, but through heart, mind, and unwavering courage. And beside him, Celine's presence reminded him that together, nothing could stand against them. The galaxy had changed, and so had Ethan. From a playful human with a joke on his lips, he had become a legend in his own right, and their story was just beginning.